Hello, in this video, the IPP demonstration sites will share our principles and practices to build and sustain inclusive schools tool featuring a case study from Evergreen Public Schools in Vancouver, Washington. Our demonstration sites serve as a model to provide professional development to visitors. Visitors engage in a transformational learning experience to observe inclusionary practice in action and hear the various inclusive journeys of each site. Consistent feedback from visitors told us there was a need to further understand specific inclusionary practices and guidance on where to even begin with their own schools and districts. We took what we learned from the demonstration sites and created the principles and practices to build and sustain inclusive schools tool. The principles and practices are framed around 7 core sections. Those sections include first, mission and vision; second, master schedule; third, collaborative structures; fourth, inclusionary practices; fifth, flexible learning environments and staffing; six, inclusive IEPs; and seven, sustained family and community engagement. The Principles and Practices tool is helpful to see what one means when they refer to, quote, inclusionary practices. Inclusionary practices are extensive and should be a through line across our systems of education to impact teaching and learning, leadership, family, and community engagement. The Principles and Practices tool is helpful to see what one means when they refer to inclusionary practices. As we seek to expand inclusionary practices across Washington state, we strive to be both clear in what are inclusionary practices and provide artifacts to support implementation. Okay, now let's take a closer look at the features of the Principles and Practices tool. First, we have a section title with link to artifacts, which include materials created by demonstration sites and other source resources. We also have fast-tracked items that appear in bold to further identify high leverage practices to begin with and build a foundation. Third, there's self-assessment column to mark if this inclusionary practice is in place, in progress, or not yet in place. There is also a column to know if practices were observed or reported. And then at the very bottom, for each area, there's a section for scoring, and then you can put those combined scores in the matrix at the end. The tool is formatted as an assessment tool, allowing individuals and/or school teams to self-assess and rate each item by noting which ones are in place, in progress, or not in place, and scoring results. Scoring can then be used to appreciate inclusionary practices that are working well and identify areas of growth and next steps. Items appearing in bold denote fast-tracked items. These inclusionary practices items were identified as high leverage and high priority in the inclusive journey to potentially target where to start. So if the school team members and districts are unsure where to begin, they can start with fast-track items that were rated as not in place or in progress. Evergreen Public Schools is a district located in Vancouver, Washington, home to Evergreen High School, which is one of our high school demonstration sites. As Evergreen Public Schools continues on their inclusive journey, they are focused on building capacity within the district to provide inclusive and equitable education for all students. Leadership and stakeholders are taking a strategic and intentional approach to shifting systems to support inclusion at the elementary level. To begin, they engage with leadership to provide feedback and input on a blueprint for systems change needs and develop professional development. As part of their process, they took the Principles and Practices tool and converted to a Google form. This alternate survey format provided for an efficient way to both self-assess and view scoring results. This is also an example of utilizing the tool to gain more extensive information on district-wide implementation of inclusionary practices. Evergreen Public Schools is an outstanding example of how districts, and ones that include an IPP demonstration site, are making strides to build capacity within their own districts. As they continue on their path, Evergreen Schools is beginning at the elementary level with a commitment to returning all students to their neighborhood school. Thus, each and every student will be able to attend school within their neighborhood with their peers. Additional benefits for families are to be connected to their local community. Large-scale change occurs over time and in phases. Evergreen Schools is demonstrating how the work to change systems is extensive but achievable. As they continue and progress beyond elementary, they will ensure vertical alignment across the grade levels from preschool through the high school and transition services. As Evergreen Schools continues on their path, the Demonstration Sites Project will seek to help them share their story. In doing this, others will learn and be empowered and informed, and in turn expand inclusionary practices statewide. Here's a closer look at how the principles and practices looks in survey format and can quickly yield visual graphs to show areas of strength and areas for improvement. Thanks for taking the time to learn more about the Principles and Practices tool. To know we all are on a path of continuous improvement. We want to take an assets-based approach and leverage strengths in what is working well. Consider using the Principles and Practices tool to self-assess where you, your school, and our district are currently in regards to inclusive practices, and use the tool to deepen your understanding of practices and learn by exploring the accompanying artifacts. Here are additional resources. You can check out the QR code to access the Principles and Practices tool, and you can check out more information about Evergreen High School and Evergreen Public Schools, as well as our other demonstration sites at our website at ippdemosites.org. Thank you so much.